Hello? Hey, all right. Guess it's my turn. I just want to say first that, that's loud. My only regret right now is that I didn't get to come here a couple years earlier and meet you fine, upstanding seniors, because we could have gotten into a lot of trouble with some pranks we could have played on some people at this church. So maybe it is, maybe your parents are probably going, well, I'm glad you weren't here. So, if you have your Bibles with you, I want you to turn to Luke chapter 15. Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. I'm going to be reading from the New Standardized Version of the Bible. It's kind of a little different when you get up here and you actually see everybody. I'm starting to like it down there right now a whole lot more. I haven't preached in like over a year, and it's only been like to 50 people. So, starting with verse 11. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had and set off for a distant country, there squandering his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. 'Your brother has come,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has him back safe and sound.' The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours who has squandered your property with prostitutes comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him.'" All right, just think about that for a second. And I'm going to jump right into this. I know why people go to the gym in January but quit by February. Did you know that, JT? I have figured it out. And when you hear this, okay, when you hear what I have to say, you're going to go, "William's a genius. We're going to vote him as president one day," okay? If my mother was here, she would say, "There's my son with his big ego." I call it confidence, all right? But maybe I do have a big ego because I'm going to be president one day. Watch me. That's a joke, guys, okay? You're supposed to sit there and laugh, okay? This sermon's not going to work all that well if we don't get some laughter going on here in a minute, okay? All right? See? Most people go to the gym not to lose weight. They go there because if they look hard enough, they're going to find someone in worse shape than they are and not feel so bad about themselves. They're going to be able to sit there and go, "Hey, I have no upper body strength, I have no muscular tone, but at least I don't look like that guy over there," okay? All right? We sometimes think that we can point out other people's faults and then maybe our problems don't seem so bad, and we might actually begin to look better in people's eyes. Would you say that's true? I would say yeah. All right. So here we go. That's what this really happened in the story of the prodigal son. And I think sometimes we forget that there were two brothers. We focus so much on that first brother that we forget, hey, there was an older brother in the story. One brother took off and then crawled back. The other was quite upset because there was a party for that pain in the neck, but never anything for him. Wait a minute, maybe you're saying, hey, William, I've never looked at anybody and sat there and thought, hey, at least I'm not like that person, or at least I look better than that person. Well, let me tell you one thing, okay? Two things, actually. We're in church. Quit lying. All right? And two, if you have never, ever looked at someone and thought in your mind, wow, at least I'm not like that, look at that, go to Walmart between the hours of 12 a.m. and 8 a.m. And within 5 minutes, I guarantee it, you will do it. All right? I had so much fun putting this together this week, okay? Here's the thing. Most of us don't even realize that we do it. See, sometimes we act like the older brother towards God. I think most of us can identify with that other brother a little bit more than we can identify with the prodigal son. If you think about it, and if I had to look at it majority-wise, I would say that most of us were raised in church. Or we went to church, or our parents told us to go to church. If your family was like mine, if church was open, you were there, and you didn't get a say in it. All right? I tried to complain about going to church one time, and my mom said, here's a belt. You can go to church, and you can get this. I went to church. All right? We were there. If it was Sunday morning, we were there. Okay? We were there for Christmas. We were there for Vacation Bible School. Easter. We were helping set up communion. When I was in high school, I was even made a greeter at the church door. And then in youth, I went on Wednesday nights. All right? I was there. And when I went off to college, when I went down to South Alabama, all right, and spent some time at the University of South Alabama, I went to church not because I had to, because when I wasn't working, I wanted to go. Now, sure, I had a couple of those wild nights, you know, but I never strayed away like the first son in the story. I was more like the older brother. I bet it's safe to say that we get angry sometimes, especially when we feel like we've paid our dues to God, don't we? When we've paid our dues, we stood firm, and still nothing seems to go our way. Yet, Jimbo Bob, over there on the other side of the fence, is getting everything he wants, and he doesn't seem to follow the rules. We begin to look at it and go, oh, maybe the grass is greener on the other side. All right? It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like when we sit there and you're at work, and you got that guy that sits next to you in the cubicle who does enough just to get by, and all of a sudden it's promotion time, and he gets promoted over you, makes you want to go out in the parking lot and have some words with your boss, right? I'm going to try not to look up at that because I want to laugh every time I see one of my slides, okay? We want to keep going flow here, okay? We want to say, hey, God, haven't I done good? Haven't I done what you've asked me to? Why can't I pass go? Why can't I collect my $200? Why is it every time I roll the dice, I seem to go straight to jail? And if you're anything like me, you can't go to jail because I'm too pretty, okay? All right? My mom used to tell me that if I go to jail, she wasn't going to get me out, but she's going to send me a whole carton of cigarettes to save my life. All right? You know, that's called good parenting when you're in high school, okay? Pretty soon, all we do is complain. And then we complain about not getting what we want instead of being thankful for what we've been given. All right? It's not a good thing to complain about. I want that, I want that. Guess what? It's called wants, not needs. Excuse me. I'm all of a sudden getting a little dry mouth. I look good in that picture. All right. We act like we're in the gym when we start pointing out the faults of everybody. And maybe we think about it, hey, if we point out the faults and we start criticizing that person, then life will start to be a little bit fair. When were we ever promised a fair life, especially one where we decided to follow Christ? Let me tell you something. If life was fair, I would have my doctorate in history, the looks of Brad Pitt, and I would be married to Carrie Underwood all right now. I guess 1 out of 3 isn't too bad. I'm talking that I have the looks of Brad Pitt. You guys got that, right? Giant ego. Okay. And you're going to wonder, where'd William go? He was great. You know, where'd he go? They let me go. All right, just because I said I had a giant ego. All right. Guess what? The road to Christ, the road and path of Christ is rough, it is narrow, and it's not changing anytime soon. Not going to change. Let me repeat that, because those are one of those points where you put in your sermon where you're hoping to get an amen. All right, you know, and listen, I know somebody in this church can do it. Let me try it again. Didn't even have to do it. Look at this. Thank you, but all right. Here's what happens when we start to get angry and we start to complain about not getting what we want. The green-eyed monster starts to show up. Jealousy. Jealousy can become a big factor in our play. We begin to complain, nothing changes, and then we start wanting what that other person wants, and before you know it, we actually start wanting something bad to happen. And see, here again, we don't even realize we're actually doing it. All right? If this story would have continued, I'm sure the older brother would have said, yeah, go ahead, have that fatted calf. I hope you don't choke. When in reality, we're wanting that person to choke on that fatted calf, aren't we? Because they're getting it, we're not, and we're upset. I had a friend in high school. I wouldn't really call him a friend. Well, we didn't start out as friends, all right? But in our freshman year of high school, he moved down from Delaware. And I didn't really like him. Couldn't really put my finger on it, but I didn't really like him. His name was Adam Burnett. And Adam, if you ever watch this, I told you I'd put you in a sermon, and it took me 10 years, so now that's 550. Okay. If he was here today, he would say this. The reason I didn't like him, because he was better looking than me. Okay, I didn't know that was coming up. But hey, that works. Let's keep it. All right? That he was better looking than me. He was cooler than me. You know, I didn't see it. That's what he would say. Well, I didn't like him too much, okay? And then all of a sudden, he started showing up at my church and started hanging out with my youth group. Now, I wasn't the most popular guy in school. I got picked on a little bit. I didn't get picked on as much as some people did. I mean, but, you know, I was kind of, you know, the brainy one, all right? So when I got to church, I was the funny one. I was the one who had the answers, who didn't have to look in the Bible to sit there and say, oh, that's John chapter, 5, I felt good. I liked going. That was one reason I liked going so much by the time I was in high school. Then Adam showed up. And everyone thought he was the funny one. And I kind of was over in the side by this point. And then when we turned 16, I really got upset with him. He got a brand new cherry red Ford Ranger pickup truck. And you know what I got, Robert? Nothing. Nothing. Except, the permission to drive my mom around to Walmart. All right? She thought that was good enough. All right? So he gets this, and so I actually started like, you know what? I hope that truck blows up. Not with him in it. All right? Okay? But I wouldn't have shed a tear if I would have seen that bumper of that truck going down to the scrap heap, okay? Well, our senior year comes around, and I was put on student council. And my job for the senior year was the homecoming dance, okay? I had to put together the homecoming dance. And I'm out there, and I'm acting like some kind of bouncer outside, making sure people aren't leaving and doing what they're not supposed to be doing on the school grounds. And Adam comes up. And he is white as a ghost. Now I noticed this because Adam was complete Native American. The only thing that was white on him was his teeth, okay? And we used to tease him about that. But and he was whiter than me. Something had scared him. And he had had a wreck. Flipped that brand new truck into a ditch. Walked away without a scratch. But he knew his dad was going to kill him. Okay, so that's why he was scared, all right?